Hello and welcome to another episode of UA Overtime. I'm your host, Connor Delaney, filling in for the always entertaining Jermaine Dennis. Today's show, we have a good range of topics from the NBA, college basketball, and athletes and their social media habits. To discuss these topics with me today, I have my panelists. To my right, Lindsay Drapala. To my left, Nick Cregan and Joe Marshall. First order of business, guys. The New York Knicks, arguably the hottest team in the NBA right now, Linsanity, all this stuff going on. What do you guys make of all this? Where do you see the Knicks finishing in the NBA and in the East? Are they legit contenders? Lindsay, lead us off.
I gotta say, I have definitely bought into the Linsanity, and I think that this guy definitely brings something that the Knicks have been missing to this team. He definitely he's not the most skilled, and he's definitely not the biggest, and he's not the most talented, but what he does do is he brings the team back to the basics. They're playing like a team, everyone's touching the ball, and he's just got such a great attitude. He's such a humble guy. I think he leads the Knicks. They're going to finish at least 5th or 6th in the Eastern Conference, I say.
Joe, what do you think?
First things first, as a Knick fan, it is absolutely great to see them relevant again. For 10, 12 years of having them be terrible, it's been since the Patrick Ewings and the John Starks and Allen Houston since we were relevant, and it's great to have them back on SportsCenter and here talking about the Knicks. And it's also cool, first of all, as a Giant fan, to now have another relevant team in the NBA. The NBA has had a real dead period in New York. I'm buying into Linsanity. The only thing that concerns me is we have a lot of talent, a lot of personality. It helps that he's a real humble guy. It's going to take some time to see if we can gel with everybody when everyone gets back healthy. I agree. I think the highest we reach is maybe 5, 6. So we get into playoffs, we can maybe do some damage. We'll see what happens. But it's a great outlook. And at least for a couple years to come now we have something to build off of.
I mean, just as an NBA fan, this Linsanity is amazing. It's bringing a lot of people together. We're getting a lot of attention from the Eastern countries in the world. But what worries me is the fact that Jeremy Lin is a pure point guard. He's a real point guard. And
which is exactly what the Knicks needed,
That's
right?
what they need, but Carmelo demands the ball. Carmelo is usually the person to hold on to the ball. I don't know if he'll gel immediately with Lin, but with work, I do see it working.
But Lin's not the type. The other night he had 6 shots. He took 6 shots in the game, had 13 assists.
That's
he's
true.
the kind of guy that he's going to get everyone involved. If you look at from a standpoint like D'Antoni in Phoenix with Steve Nash, this is the type of system he wanted to run. He didn't have a true point guard that could run the offense. You know what I mean? This is what he needed. He needed a guy that could a true point guard who could.
Lin came out the other night actually, and the same thing you guys just said, made a point. I'm shooting too much. When everyone gets back, I need to know my role as the point guard. He's not going to be, throwing up 100 shots a game. He knows that he has to facilitate the offense and what he's there for. It's just, in periods where they're missing their 2 top scorers, he was forced to shoot the ball a little more. So we'll see what happens the next couple weeks with everybody back healthy.
If Carmelo can allow Lin to hold on to the ball and be the facilitator and dish the ball out to Carmelo when he's on the perimeter open, it'll be a perfect match. But we just got news today that J.R. Smith might be coming to the Knicks. So I'm hoping that doesn't mess up the chemistry.
Coming,
exactly.
So we'll see what happens. That'd be another thing, kind of with the with the Shumpert, Fields. Now we got J.R. Smith. So we'll see what happens. We have this next 2 weeks is going to be huge for them to try and gel as a team. So we'll see what happens.
To end this topic, what do you think? You saw Lin take the big shot the other night against the Kings. Last second shot, Melo or Lin? Who do you have?
I think it's going to have to be Melo.
What do you guys think? Melo or Lin? Last second shot.
I'm comfortable with either player taking that shot.
I like Melo. I like Lin. Driving to the middle and then dishing out to Melo for the game winner.
That's how I like it too. Sounds good.
Well, that about wraps up our first quarter. We'll be right back. Second quarter, we'll be talking about the NBA trade deadline. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our second quarter. Second topic of discussion, NBA trade deadline. Obviously the big name, it's been out there, it's still out there, Dwight Howard. We have guys like Steve Nash, Gilbert Arenas. Which team do you guys think has to make a move in order to be a contender come playoffs? Joe, why don't you lead us off?
the team that needs to make a move, which is going to be an issue now, is the Clippers. The Clippers are third in the West right now. They're still trying to fit together their team with the pieces. They just signed Kenyon Martin. I like that move. So they were talking about between the Knicks and the Clippers getting J.R. Smith. In my opinion, J.R. Smith would have been better fit with the Clippers situation right now. They need a two-guard. He could have went out there. Chauncey Billups is now out for the entire season. They could have used another body to take up some minutes. And now the Knicks got him. We'll see what happens with that. But if I'm a Los Angeles Clippers fan, I really want J.R. Smith, and I would have liked another body out there, another veteran, another guy who could put some points up, and that would have really helped my team. So now we'll see what happens. Dwight Howard's always up in the air. They're talking, between Chicago, L.A., New Jersey. Very interesting. We'll see what happens with him. But I would, as a Clippers fan, I would have really liked the J.R. Smith move. But we'll see what happens now.
Nick, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I do agree with your points, but I mean, if you're a Lakers fan, it's imperative.
You see a point guard.
It's imperative to either get
guard.
Steve Nash or get Dwight Howard somehow, because I mean, if Kobe Bryant has a chance at getting a sixth ring, it's over. It's over if Kobe Bryant doesn't get either Dwight Howard or Steve Nash. Somebody to facilitate the ball or a big defender in the lane.
Do they really need a big guy? I mean, you have guys like
Bynum and Gasol. Gasol's playing soft this season.
Bynum's like a China set to me. Like, he's always getting hurt. I feel you always have some type of issue with him.
Well, that would be the deal with the Dwight Howard would be for Bynum and Gasol.
Is that necessarily what they need? Do they need a big, or do they just need a point guard who can facilitate to those bigs and get Kobe more? You know what I mean? Like, Derek Fisher is not that point guard anymore.
Derek Fisher is not that point guard anymore.
I think Bynum is considered an all-star, so I would be surprised if they would really try to go for someone like Dwight Howard when they do have Gasol.
Bynum has his moments.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't classify him as an all-star in my book, but,
He's a good player, but comparative to Dwight Howard, it's not a competition. He is so far above every other big man in the league that it's almost a joke to try and talk about. Like, if Dwight Howard, you put him on any team, they're instantly, 2 times better. And if he went to the Lakers, I could see, them actually doing some damage. But they also need to get younger. They have to get younger. Their team is getting old. Kobe's window's closing. So,
but realistically, who would be more value to that Lakers team right now? Dwight Howard or Steve Nash?
I see the need for a point guard. They do need one, but both of them, the same thing. You signed Steve Nash. He's only got 2-3 more years left. Dwight Howard is still a young guy.
You might as well get Dwight Howard, play for the future.
That's
you can draft a point guard.
How many more years does Kobe have left?
I'd say he has about 3 years left.
3 tops.
Not 3 golden years.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's going to be Kobe these next 3 years.
He's had some procedures done. He's still Kobe. Kobe on one leg is still better than half the NBA. But I mean,
very true. Very true.
See.
We're going to wrap up our second quarter right there with that. Coming back, quarter 3, talk about college basketball. Stay tuned.
Let the party rock. Put your hands up, everybody just dance.
The Office of Multicultural Student Success is proud to announce the formation of 2 twin centers, a Gender and Sexuality Resource Center and a Multicultural Resource Center.
The Gender and Sexuality Resource Center is located on the 3rd floor of the campus center in room 332. It is a safe space for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, and queer LGBTQ students and their allies. Come to study, play games, grab resources, meet new people, or get involved on campus. The GSRC is open Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. when school is in session. The center is dedicated to improving the quality of life for all LGBTQ persons at UAlbany.
Together, the GSRC and MRC work to enhance the University at Albany's commitment to social justice and diversity by collaborating on events and supporting students of all backgrounds and cultural identities. They are also a valuable resource of support and networking for students, faculty, and staff. Stop in today.
The Multicultural Resource Center serves as a safe space for African, Latino, Asian, and Native American, Alana students as well as students interested in issues related to diversity and inclusion. It also serves as a valuable resource for programming ideas. The MRC features as a meeting place, TV, and library with lots of resources, and is also a hub for many multicultural student offices.
Welcome back to the second half of our show. Quarter 3, college basketball. February for me is the most boring month when it comes to sports, but with college basketball, it makes it a little easier. Number 1, Kentucky. Number 2, Syracuse. Who do you guys have? Who's the true number 1? Joe.
I'm going to have to go with Kentucky. I do like Syracuse, but the knock on Kentucky from everybody, all the experts saying, is that Kentucky's too young. The problem with that, in my opinion, is that John Calipari, brings all these highly touted freshmen, all these McDonald's All-Americans. He is used to handling 17, 18, 19-year-old kids and putting them in the spotlight. They go to Kentucky because they know they're going to be a contender for the national championship. They're ready. These kids, have been stars in their own town and the country since they were 14, 15 years old. They're not scared by the pressure. I understand Syracuse. Syracuse is a good team, obviously, but Kentucky, I feel like Kentucky's weakness is also their strength, and maybe because they're so young and inexperienced.
Which is what? What do you think their weakness is?
Well, Kentucky's weakness is that they're young and they're youth, but they're going to go in there and they're not going to be scared and they're not going to be intimidated. They might not know what's on the line. I do like the way Calipari is used to this.
The depth of Syracuse and that roster they have, and the experience they have. They have guys like Chris Joseph, that senior leader, and Scoop Jardine as well. I mean, they have the depth. That zone is their defense is swarming. I mean,
Scoop Jardine has been waiting to win a championship for 4 years.
As much as I hate Scoop, I love him because when the game comes down to the line and he has the ball in his hands, he's gotten better to know what to do with it. But the one thing that scares me about Syracuse is they don't have, when a game's on a stretch and they're in a close game, I feel like they don't have that go-to guy down the stretch that can take over the game. I mean, Waiters is kind of selfish. I feel like he wants to be that role, but I feel like it's more Joseph. I mean, but Lindsay, what do you think?
I mean, Waiters, he's definitely averaging 12 points a game. So, I mean, he wants the ball. He's going to be one to step up and take those last-minute shots when the game's on the line. But, I mean, I definitely think Syracuse has a better shot than Kentucky because I feel like they're more used to this kind of atmosphere where, Kentucky's a younger team and, even though you think that that's something that could work to their strength, I still see that as a disadvantage. They have no experience in this stage.
If you go a few years back, you can think of the Fab Five team. I mean, they had all this young talent, Chris Webber, and all these people. But the thing that came down to, North Carolina was way more experienced for the national championship. It's going to come down to that with Syracuse and Kentucky. Another determining factor is going to be Fab Melo if he comes back and plays.
Was there one loss? They have one loss, and who did not play that game?
He missed the game.
Understandable.
The only thing to remember is that you make a great point about the Fab Five, is that, back in the past, it wasn't common for players to leave early. And in my opinion, experience is becoming less and less important only because you're getting less and less senior leadership. Because if you're good enough after your junior season, these kids are leaving. Most of them sometimes after their junior year. So it's becoming kind of where your experience, they're leaving. So experience is, you're a veteran if you're a sophomore sometimes.
You speak about senior leadership and you look at a team like St. John's. They had a great chance of going to the national championship last year. They lost a lot of their seniors and now they're kind of in the bottom of the barrel. They're not really a contender anymore.
Understandable.
So, I mean, with Syracuse, I feel like this is one of their it's not their best recruiting year, I would say, as freshmen, but they do have great seniors. They have a deep bench.
I
see them going.
Really
I see them
deep.
going far. So.
Yeah, this is their year.
If you could pick a dark horse, Lindsay, who would you pick to potentially upset the Kentucky or Syracuse in the tournament?
Well, I honestly see Syracuse taking it all, but if I had to pick one, I would say the Duke Blue Devils.
Duke Blue Devils, interesting. What about you, Joe?
I'm going to go with Michigan State. Every year, Michigan State, they go into a tournament, they're lacking this, they're lacking that. Tom Izzo, hands down, is the greatest tournament coach.
The greatest tournament coach, I agree.
In the world right now. This guy, every year, Michigan State goes in, they're okay, and they make it to the Final Four. They made it to the Sweet 16, 08, 09, and 2010. Final Four, 09, 2010. It's like
him and Roy Williams are very similar in the sense of they play well during the regular season, conference and stuff.
Good enough.
But they get their teams, they know how to get their teams ready come March.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Which is a huge deal. I can see them making a run, even if they get in. Right now, I think they're the number 17 in the country. Had a big win over Wisconsin last night. I could see them making a run if they get in and their tournament schedule sets up right. I could see them maybe in the Final Four again. So
Nick,
that's
what
my
about you,
prediction.
dark horse?
I could see Alabama taking the SEC and giving Syracuse a run for their money. I mean, they scored 71 points against a great Georgia defense team. The only problem is they're a streaky team, so when they're on, they're on. But if they can make a run into March and actually stay hot, I see them beating Kentucky, honestly.
I'm going to have to go with Carolina. They're just too streaky for me right now. Harrison Barnes, I think, is the best player in the country. They have the talent. Roy Williams knows what to do. That's what I think. But that's going to wrap up our third quarter. Come back, talk about our fourth quarter, talk about the NFL, Peyton Manning. See you soon.
My job is no more. I don't wanna work no more. I ain't working for $5 an hour. Yeah, McDonald's and Taco Bell, yeah, modern day slavery. There's nothing on my front door. I'm fit to quote. Get you a big fat sack of yayo.
Welcome back. Quarter four, Peyton Manning. You've all heard the news, a fourth neck procedure. Everyone's reading into it. Everyone's talking about it. The Colts are obviously concerned. If Peyton is not in a Colts uniform next year, where do you guys see him? Lindsay.
Well, I personally love Peyton Manning, and there's no jersey I'd rather see him in than a Jets jersey. I don't know how realistic that is, but
Of course.
Of course, yeah. I don't think that his best fit is Indianapolis. I don't think that he's the kind of quarterback that's going to take Andrew Luck or RG3, whoever they're looking to get. I don't think they're going to take him, that he'll take him in and mentor him like we've seen with some other quarterbacks. So I think that the best fit for him is to just leave Indianapolis and hopefully land on the Jets, who desperately, desperately need a quarterback.
Hating on Mark Sanchez a little
Well,
bit, huh?
I mean, he hasn't really shown anything that I'm too proud of yet. So.
Fair enough. Joe, what do you think?
For me, this is a really easy answer. I don't know why I don't hear any experts talking about this. The Kansas City Chiefs. Peyton Manning signs with the
Little
Chiefs.
Joe Montana action,
I'm saying
right?
right now they will be 13-3 next year and set up to do some damage in the playoffs. They are the most talented team that no one is talking about. They just signed Romeo Crennel as their head coach. He's a defensive guy. They're talking that if Peyton goes somewhere, he's going to want to run the offense on his own. He can run his own offense at Kansas City. Surrounded by, without all the injuries that happened last year, healthy, Jamal Charles, Dwayne Bowe, Jonathan Baldwin, Tony Moyaki, Dexter McCluster, a good defense, top 10 defense. I could see them doing damage. You put Peyton there with those receivers, I could see seriously them going 13-3 and making a run in the playoffs. And I would love to see that because I'm a Peyton Manning guy, and I want to see him go off on a high note, just the same thing as John Elway. I don't want to see him be a Brett Favre kind of thing and go and get hurt and not play so well. I really like to see him go off, on a winning streak.
Nick, talk to me. What do you think?
Best case scenario for Peyton is to honestly stay in Indianapolis. He knows the offense. He runs the offense. He is Indianapolis, but I don't see him staying there. I do see him going to, however, the Arizona Cardinals. Weisenhunt is a great coach. He did it with Kurt Warner. He can change the whole offense around.
They have that tendency to bring in the old veteran like that.
Exactly, but he's not even, I wouldn't even call him an old veteran. I would call him, he's still in his, I feel like he could still be in his prime. He has a good 4 more years in him. And the NFL is about right now. It's not about 3 years down the line. You want to win this year. So if they bring in Peyton Manning, Weisenhunt will change around the offense. They'll go vertical. He has Fitzgerald. He'll be all right.
I agree. I mean, imagine that, Fitzgerald and Peyton together, playing together. In my opinion, Fitzgerald's the best receiver in the NFL. I mean, he catches, who's throwing the ball now? Skelton?
Yeah,
But-
John Skelton from Fordham. Not saying too much.
So Peyton leaves. What do the Colts do with the number 1 pick? Do they draft Luck? Do they draft Robert Griffin III? What do you think?
You know what? I love Andrew Luck, and I do feel like he's going to be the best quarterback coming out of that draft class. But Robert Griffin III, he's amazing. He's one of those athletes you can mold into a prime quarterback. He has the athleticism. He has the poise. He reminds me of somewhat of a Cam Newton or Vic, put together. I like his accuracy. The only thing that he is lacking is that he is not a pocket quarterback. He doesn't have a strong pocket presence, but they can mold him into that. I mean, we're going away from the traditional quarterback of just staying in the pocket. He's mobile. He can do a lot. So,
Lindsay, what do you think?
I gotta agree with Nick on that one. I say Robert Griffin III would probably be a better fit, only because if you look at through the season, he's only had 6 interceptions. A big thing I think with quarterbacks is the ability not to turn the ball over. So I think that they can definitely, like Nick was saying, mold him into the areas that he's still weak in the pocket, and he'll definitely develop better.
I agree with everything you guys said. RG3 is a great player, and he does take care of the ball, and he is an Olympic sprinter and all that. I just, there's nothing that could change my mind about the Andrew Luck thing. For 3 years, people have been saying he's between the next John Elway and Peyton Manning, 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I can't take a chance on a guy who had a breakout year, and they're talking can do this, can do that. A lot of what you guys are saying is his potential, which is great. Potential's awesome.
You know what you're getting when you draft Andrew Luck.
And he's going to be great.
I mean, you got to replace Peyton Manning, arguably the best quarterback of all time. You don't want to take a risk on a guy like Robert Griffin III, who, yeah, the potential's there. He could be this great quarterback, but Andrew Luck would have been the number 1 pick last year. He's going to be the number 1 pick. Whenever he decides to come out, he's coming out. He's going to be the number 1 pick this year, I think. You got to take him. You got that core with the Colts. So you can't pass up on a guy like
How many times have you seen the traditional quarterback end up a bust, though? I mean, look at Matt Leinart, Heisman winner, first pick. I mean, you can't be too sure. He's not a
How
sure pick.
many have you seen that dynamic quarterback like a Vince Young? I mean, Michael Vick's really. I mean, Jamarcus Russell came out. Look at that. I mean, probably biggest bust of all time. I mean.
I completely agree. I feel like in the same way that we talk about that, you can bring up opinions for both, and kind of, Ryan Leaf was the same thing. Andrew Luck, though, is, as much as everyone wants to call him a pocket passer, he is mobile, and he can do things that, not the normal pocket passing quarterback can do. So we'll see what happens, and I feel like either which way, you can't really go wrong. Both of them are great talents, so we'll see what happens in the future.
Interesting. Well, that wraps up our 4th quarter about Peyton Manning. Obviously, big shoes to fill there in Indianapolis. Coming back, we'll have our overtime and our final thoughts. Stay tuned.
Showers, popping in the club, we light it up. 8 hour, I said champagne showers, champagne showers. Popping in the club, we light it up. 8 hour. Let the party rock. Put your hands up.
I was really sad when I found out I have syphilis, but then I watched the movie Frankie, and he inspired me to grab my right boob! And then my nipple automatically became hotter while I was watching the show, so hot that my shirt disappeared. I don't know, watching the movie Frankie makes me, ass. Where was I? Oh yeah, after watching the show, I gave birth to 2 puppies. Yes. Nipple milk!
Welcome back to the overtime segment of our show. Overtime, we're talking about Twitter, athletes, how they handle it, how they respond. I mean, you obviously seen the news. You got LeBron tweeting about, he's always on Twitter. You got Floyd Mayweather tweeting the things about Jeremy Lin. What do you guys make of Twitter? What do you guys think? How should athletes approach it? How should they use Twitter? Joe.
Well, they should, first of all, know that whatever you say, even if it's up there for a second, is in ink in history forever. You said it, you entered it, it's there. There's no taking it back. You could apologize a million times. You could delete it right away. Someone has seen it, and you need to realize that everything that you say is going to have repercussions, especially people like LeBron, and you have to realize that you have some of these guys, 1 million followers. You have 1 million people hanging on every word you say. You know everything you say now is going right across the bottom of ESPN. You have to be careful. You have to understand that, there is positives to it. I do like the guys who are trying to, promote positive things, and you have people like Larry Fitzgerald and other people that, Larry Fitzgerald, I know last summer was doing something where for every follower he got, he was going to donate, say $10 to a charity. And there's other athletes that have their own charities, and that's great, and that's a great way to, spread the word about certain things. But there's also the negative aspect, and you got Floyd going out there, and these people need to realize that, just keep your mouth shut for some things. You don't say things that are going to, really push people's buttons. You got to realize there's a positive and negative to each thing, and I just wish people were more responsible.
Lindsay, what do you think?
I gotta agree with you completely with that one, Joe. I think Mayweather's comments were just completely out of line. You don't really, that's not what Twitter is intended for. You don't put hurtful comments on that. I mean, Lynn is getting enough, people calling him the Yellow Mamba, like all these other racist things that he has to worry about. We don't want to hear from you, Floyd. Like, you just keep your mouth shut. Like, that's not the intention of Twitter. And I mean, I think it's a little hypocritical also. During the Pro Bowl, they're letting these athletes tweet on the sideline, but then they're making a rule that you're not allowed to tweet like an hour before games. So
Absolutely.
I think that really starts to get in your head. You're reading other people's tweets, and you're thinking what you're going to tweet. Like, I just think...
I mean, you don't see these great players. You don't see your Peyton Manning. You don't see your Kobe's. You don't see him on Twitter tweeting. Like, LeBron, I feel like he's sitting on his couch every night, like, trying to... He just wants that attention. He wants that just
he seems like a child in like a grown man's body almost. The same thing they were talking about on ESPN is that you didn't see the great ones go through that, and they didn't have to, demand that they wanted to be crowned and all that. He just seems a little childish with his responses.
LeBron feeds into people liking him too much. He wants everybody to like him.
He wants to be loved, man.
He wants to be loved still in Cleveland. How are you going to say you wouldn't mind going back to Cleveland after you left them like the way you left them? You basically divorced them, didn't sign a prenup, and now you want to go back and still be accepted?
And your hometown team, too, you left.
Don't buy into it, Cleveland fans. Don't buy into it.
If I'm a Miami Heat fan, I'm not very happy either.
I'm not.
Especially with those comments.
I feel like he's a traitor right now. And as far as Twitter goes, I do feel like athletes should be able to tweet if they want to, but be smart about what you tweet. I mean, don't sit there and say, Floyd Mayweather, you're making yourself look racist. And I know you probably aren't racist, but sometimes people put their foot in their mouth on Twitter. It's a very dangerous world. Like
Joe said, it's in black and it's right there in ink. It's going to be there. Like, people are going to see it. As soon as they tweet it, millions of people are going to see it.
Absolutely.
It's all depends. That wraps up our overtime. Going into final thoughts. Joe, what's your final thought for this week?
Final thought. Next weekend is going to be NBA All-Star Weekend. You've seen the lineup just got released for the dunk contest. Are you kidding me? The dunk contest last year was the most popular it's been in years with Blake Griffin. You got him going off with this stuff. You got Dwight Howard in the past couple of years, Nate Robinson. This year, your highlight person is Chase Budinger. Are you kidding me? There's no way that anyone's going to stay tuned and to try and sit home and watch the All-Star game and watch the dunk contest when they have, you can't even get the All-Stars, the true All-Stars of the NBA. If you actually had a slam dunk contest with all these people in their prime and you had Kobe going out there and you had D. Rose and you had Blake, you would have this literally be the highlight of your NBA season, and you would bring a lot of new fans into the NBA world. And right now they're kind of doing the opposite. And somehow someone needs in the NFL and the NBA to figure out a way to figure out what the MLB did and make it relevant and entertaining for the fans to watch, because right now MLB is the only league that's doing it right when it comes to All-Star Weekend.
Agree. Lindsay, final thought.
Okay, Time Warner Cable and MSG, it is time to come to an agreement and stop depriving the Knicks fans of their Linsanity, and also the Rangers, who have taken a backseat to all of this Linsanity business. They're actually in first place. They have won 4 in a row, 7 of their last 9, and I don't think they've played this good since can't remember the last time. So we need to get MSG back so we can watch our Rangers and our Knicks, and I want it back. So that's my final thought.
Nick,
I just want to say this is a great time to be a New Yorker. I mean, Giants just came. I hate the Giants, but the Giants just came off a Super Bowl win. The Rangers are in first place. The Knicks are looking like they're shooting themselves in the playoffs. And then we come down to baseball. The Yankees are potentially going to make a big deal, finally getting rid of A.J. Burnett. It's bound to. Thank God that it's finally happening. I feel like the Knicks might be able to make a trifecta pretty soon.
agree. And my final thought, Victor Cruz, pay that man. He deserves his money. Giants all-time leading in receiving yards for the single season, scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Guy deserves to get paid. But that wraps up today's show. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. Look us up on the website. You'll see the show online. Tune in next week. Have a good one.
Tied at 87. Lind with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4. Lind for the